you who are new to our culture, exploreculture.net, we have met every Sunday during this time, and then we have a special time zone that we meet a little bit 3 hours later. So please feel free to check our Eventbrite. So we usually have been meeting every Sunday to talk about culture, history, food. Today we are so honored to have Patty Elliott, who is an Indonesian chef, food writer, and consultant. And she has been pioneer in the promotion and understanding of modern Indonesian cuisine. She moved to the UK about 4 years ago. She has been collaborating with leading chefs and made appearances, giving talk and do a lot of demonstration in Asia, Indonesia, Singapore, including European countries. She has been serving as the acting executive chef at the exclusive Nihi Resort as a guest chef in Bali as well. In addition to her private dining, fine dining, her latest venture is Rasaku. It's a retailing artisanal Indonesian food product in the UK, focusing on sustainably sourced fresh ingredients, bringing bold tropical flavors into the home through no-fuss recipes and cooking tips. Today, Patty is gonna bring the spices from Indonesia to show you, and also we are gonna finish our talk with the demonstration of how to make spice blend and also delicious Indonesian tea. So please welcome Patty, and I will have Patty take it away.
Thank you very much, Ploy. Good afternoon from sunny Sunday afternoon from England, everyone. Very happy to be here. Welcome, everyone. So I will just quickly share my presentation. Right. Everybody can see?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
It looks great.
Thank you so much. Right. So actually, I gave this talk on several evening earlier last year before the pandemic for the Indonesian Orchid Festival at the Royal Botanical Kew Garden in London. It was the first time Indonesian flora has been featured at Kew, and good opportunity to talk about Indonesia's food culture. So I'm so grateful to Minji and Ploy that give me this opportunity. And again, I'm grateful to share this talk with you. And thank you for joining me. So, for fun, I will start with this. Recognize this edible orchid? Anybody? Maybe if you can, yeah, I'm not sure if I can see the answer. Just for fun, actually, I'll start with this. This is, I think, our favorite spice around the world. Anybody will love this spice.
Please feel free to type in the chat.
Yeah, but anyway, if you think about ice cream or something for cake, you write, this is actually vanilla. Vanilla is a family of orchid. And right now, vanilla is the second most expensive spice in the world after saffron. But anyway, Indonesia is the third largest vanilla producer. And where I was from in Manado, there's a lot of vanilla farmers, but I will not talking more details about vanilla, but I will talk about these two spices, nutmeg and cloves. Nutmeg and cloves were once the envy of the world, as expensive as gold, and great demand in Europe from medieval times till the early 19th century. They were in demand for their medicine value, their preservative qualities, and later, of course, for cooking. Why were they valuable at that time? Because it's so far away to find it. If you see Europe here, they have to go around the world to find nutmeg and spices, nutmeg and clove, because it's located in very tiny island, in Spice Island within, of course, it's located in Indonesia. So this is, we can take closer look. It's interesting, of course, before the European arrived in Indonesia, the Chinese, Indian, and Arab traders were active around Indonesia already. Arab traders introduced spices to Europe via Constantinople, of course. So this is a closer look at the Spice Islands. I have to try actually move this. Yeah, can you see well? Can you see well, right? Yeah, so here you can see there's I mentioned I was born in Manado, North Sulawesi, which is here in this like K Island. And of course, Halmahera just there is the home of cloves. And here, Banda Island, the home of nutmeg. And of course, this is eastern part of Indonesia. So of course, although I wasn't born in, let's say, the Banda Island, but I feel closer because it's in the same area, the eastern Indonesia. To talk more about nutmeg, here we can see closer. Of course, if you see the red, if you see the whole fruit, this is the whole fruit. It looks like maybe a little bit like peach, maybe, but when you open, you will see the maize, the red color, and then inside there's a shell, and it's quite difficult to move. So, and inside the shell is the nutmeg. So it's quite interesting because we know only the nutmeg and the maize, but in Indonesia, of course, we enjoy nutmeg food. The whole, not only the nutmeg and the maize, but also the fruit to make jam. And of course, in Banda Island, they use the fruit to make sour fish soup. And the tea we make for, the leaves we make for tea, not only tea, but also to mix on savory dishes. It's quite interesting. The savory dishes actually look like kind of like pesto, but using the nutmeg and cloves tea, the young part. So it's quite, imagine to have pesto with young nutmeg and cloves leaves, and of course with different ingredients as well, such as shallot, garlic, and chili, and a little bit of lime juice. Okay, next we will see more about cloves. Cloves are, of course, not only famous for food ingredients, but medicine and flavor. And interestingly, in Indonesia, one of one of the way we use clove, I know it's not for everybody, but it's a famous to make a cigarette as well. To flavor the cigarette with cloves, and it's known as kretek. And if you see here, of course, you can see the cloves still attached to the bud, like a buds, and this is like not dry, and this is the dry bit. So yeah, okay. So I will talk first about how nutmeg and cloves feature outside Indonesia. Interestingly, I think most Indonesian, we don't aware how nutmeg and cloves contribute to shape the world cuisine, because we can find in many dishes not only around Europe, but also in India through the mixed spice. Let's say I really fascinated to find that clove and nutmeg, cloves or nutmeg is included in garam masala in Indian cuisine, Chinese 5-spice blend in Chinese cuisine. Speculoos is more to European, let's say Belgium or Holland. Baharat in Middle East mixed spice. Pumpkin pie spices, which is Ploy will demonstrate to us, and French 4-spice blend. So it's quite astonishing to find how clove and nutmeg from little island, a remote island, and there's nothing there actually today. If you visited Banda Island or Ternate, it's really, there's no development there. So that is quite fascinating for me to see the modern Banda Island and Ternate Island. And then in the same time to see how important nutmeg and clove, even let's say like soon we will celebrate Thanksgiving and Christmas. Without nutmeg and cloves, the flavor of the food for Thanksgiving and Christmas are not the same. So another example, this is I think my favorite dessert for Christmas is, I know it's not Indonesian dessert, but poached pear, and of course you need all the spices, of course cloves, nutmeg and cinnamon, and a little bit ginger perhaps. So it's quite interesting. And so while bringing cloves and nutmeg and cinnamon to the world, and to talk about Indonesian cuisine or Indonesian regional cuisine, it's quite fascinating that the world actually influenced Indonesian cuisine because of the spice trading many centuries ago. Of course, not only spice trade, but end up become part, of course, colonization. Because of the Spice Island, Indonesia colonized by Dutch for around 200 years, something like that, or even more. So if you see, of course, Indonesian location, many people around the world will, if they have to go to Indonesia, they have to pass many countries as well, right? So that's why, of course, there's we know the spice trail, something like that, yeah. So now Indonesian food today reflect multiculturals, is so diverse, and this is Indonesia. We have 17,000 islands, 4th largest country in the world. We have 3 time zones in one country. We have around over 300 local dialect languages. So this is Sumatra, of course, and the influence of food in Sumatra is quite astonishing, with Arabic influence, Indian influence, Chinese influence. But of course, around Indonesia, we have Chinese influence everywhere. Interestingly, when you travel from the west to the east, the use of spices is less. But it's fascinating, the home of nutmeg and cloves, they are in the east. It's because where the traders make their home, perhaps, because again, Sumatra is not far from India as well, right? Geographically, of course. I find this is fascinating. Every island, every province, we have different food because of what happened centuries ago. Of course, where I'm from here in North Sulawesi, the influence of the European is very strong, not only because of the colonialization, but also the a missionary from Europe. So I will show you a little bit of different dishes. So this is typical, the food that where I was born, in Manado in North Sulawesi. So we have brenebon. Of course, even the word sounds very Dutch. Brenebon is brenebon, and actually red soup with bone, with pork. And we have klapper tart, which is young coconut tart with custard, raisin, local almond, and spices with, of course, dusting with a mixture of cloves, nutmeg, and cinnamon. So this is the food where I was born. And when I was 13 years old, I moved to Java, which is give me a totally different experience of cuisine, Javanese cuisine, and not only different cuisine, but also different language. So it's quite interesting. So still in China, in Manado, so of course, as I mentioned earlier, we have maybe the biggest influence is Chinese cuisine around Indonesia, because nasi goreng is everywhere. But perhaps the most famous nasi goreng is something with sweet soya sauce. But we have actually many different fried rice without soya sauce. So it's really like this one, maybe even there's ginger and chili a little bit. And of course, noodles, we have maybe around 100 or even over 100 noodles around Indonesia, with smoked tuna, with chili or different sambal, something like that. Sorry. So one of the biggest influence from China is introduced soya beans to Indonesia. So we have tempeh and many other soya products as well. And this is from Sumatra, which is, it has Arabic and Indian influence. If you see, there's so many different curries. And of course, this is more nutmeg and clove in different stew, beef stew or pork dishes. Right, now we're back to, to the idea using the nutmeg and cloves leaves to create tea, which is, I will going to demonstrate later. So this is just example how I can serve Indonesian tea with something, let's say like afternoon tea in England, but of course it's combined with Indonesian sweet as well. So this is I was in Spice Island or Banda Island in 2019. And if you see, this tree is amazing. It's like, I don't know, 400, 500 years old. I was in one of the oldest of nutmeg plantation. And then around the plantation also they have canary, which is local almond. But apparently this canary tree also help how the cloves tree grow, because to make like a shade for the young trees. So this is quite interesting. And to talk more about Indonesian regional ingredients, if you see here, there's so many, of course, spices and herbs. So Indonesian cuisine always, like the basic, always have shallot, garlic, and ginger, turmeric, galangal, and chili, of course. But the difference between one region to the other is the herbs, whether they use basil or whether they use curry leaves, or whether they use different acidity as well. And of course, different dry spices. So if you see, of course, this is, maybe Ploy will recognize many ingredients are familiar with Thai cuisine as well. So of course, indeed, within Southeast Asia, we really share our food culture heritage. So I find this is fascinating. Of course, Indonesia as home of nutmeg and cloves, but if you talk about what is the most important ingredients now in modern Indonesian cuisine, which is now, doesn't matter, is modern in terms of my modern cooking perhaps, but in general, what is the most ingredients? People will not say nutmeg or cloves, but chili. Most people actually don't even think about nutmeg and cloves, but the most important is chili. But of course, chili is not indigenous Indonesia. The Spanish introduced chili to Indonesia. But long time ago, for the chili for Indonesia, actually this one here, long pepper. But when the long pepper is fresh, and when you ground with pestle and mortar, the texture is really like fresh chili. Although long pepper itself originally is from India, but perhaps, again, not sure what centuries the Indian traders brought the long pepper to Indonesia. But this is grow widely everywhere, especially in Bali and Java. So, but of course, in Europe, this is very valuable. When the long pepper is dried, for pepper connoisseur, this is really valuable because it has amazing fragrance, so different than black pepper. And of course, I think some of alcohol, or even some alcohol, they use this as a flavoring. Yeah. So why chili is the most important ingredients in Indonesian cooking? Because of course, the sambal. If you know Indonesian food, there's nearly everything we need to serve with sambal. And again, we have maybe, I don't know, around 150 to 100 different sambal around Indonesia. But of course, the most important ingredients is the chili. You cannot say sambal without chili. And the reference to call the sambal, the sambal name, is what you adding to it. Let's say pineapple sambal. The ingredients for pineapple sambal is only chili, shallot, and then of course pineapple, and maybe lime juice and salt to give to make like salsa basically. But of course, there's also cooked pineapple sambal. So yeah, we can talk about sambal for another session, because it's just extraordinary just to talk about sambal because there's so many. So next is so this is, I think, Plo introduced me with I'm a chef or food writer that approach to modern touch. What moderns for me actually, I think it's important to give adaptation to promote Indonesian food, especially in Europe or around the world, to make more convenient, more accessible. So rather than to cook the fish different way and then to cook another sambal, so I just combine. So basically, this is with rica, which is sambal, which is ginger and chili, garlic and shallot, and add tomato if you want. So that's what I'm saying is modern, is more approachable, more easy to make, because I know Indonesian food also known for how complicated things, but actually with using different approach, and using the sambal not only as condiment, but it's part of the dishes, but perhaps less spicy, because normally sambal sambal mostly has chili, the ingredients. So it's super spicy. So they need only a little bit, maybe a quarter of teaspoon. It's just to enhance the flavor. But if we yeah, if we cook using the sambal, but add more tomatoes, so it's not super spicy, right? So it's like to find the harmony, the balance of flavor. But of course, the inspiration come from sambal or come from Indonesian food culture. So another things that, like this satay, everybody knows satay, but again, in the sauce, there's sambal in it as well. Or even like sliced chili, there's on the condiment on the side. So it's always, we need to have sambal for anything. This is to show perhaps more modern Indonesian dishes. Here on the left, actually, is really from Maluku province, which is Banda Island and Ternate are located. But this is ikan gohu, is like ceviche style of Banda Island, which is so refreshing. And you need only, again, for ingredients, you need something spicy and something acidity. And it's really easy to prepare. If you like ceviche or maybe sashimi, you will love this. And of course, this is satay Bali, which is the skewer, of course, is a whole lemongrass. And again, normally this satay served with sambal mata, which is raw sambal with sliced lemongrass, chili, shallot, and a touch of shrimp paste and coconut oil. And this is this one here inspired from the food where I was born, the place that I was born, is basically porridge, normally porridge with a lot of vegetables and served with super spicy sambal, which is the brown dot. Actually, here is we call it sambal roa, which is made with very dried and smoky fish, and basically we just ground finely and then cook with chili and shallot and garlic. But the spiciness, maybe, I don't know, from 1 to 10, the spicy, I think, is 11, really. It's so super spicy, honestly. Manado food is the most spicy around the region, although only the chili make it spicy, it's not the layer of spices like in Sumatra with so many different curries. So yeah, that is my presentation. So I hope you learned something from this. And now over to Ploy for your spice demo.
Thank you, Patty. Would you like to answer some questions
Sure.
before we go to the demonstration? Do you usually use nutmeg, fresh cloves in cooking?
What I like, the thing is, I don't like to buy powder spices. So yeah, I will roast it, let's say, maybe not too small, maybe for 3 times use. And fresh nutmeg, fresh cloves, fresh coriander. But yeah, I prefer to do it by myself.
You mean like from the green?
Oh, sorry, from the green nutmeg. You mean the nutmeg itself from fresh?
The cloves that came from the flower, and then they have like greens.
Yeah.
Do you use that in cooking?
Actually, it's rarely, because you know why? Like any other fruit or herbs, when it's fresh, it has not have a lot of fragrance, because fresh clove is still super fresh. You can bite it. I think it's nice to put in the salad just a little bit, but to make it has strong flavor, of course, we have to dry it. Yeah, let's say like chili, right? Chili, dried chili and fresh chili is different because the intensity is more when it's dried. Like fruit as well. Dried fruit is more intense, the flavor, than dry, because there's a lot of water content in the fresh spices or fresh fruits.
Yeah, thank you, Patty. Also one more question. Is the nutmeg fruit grows the same way on a tree similar to peach or
No,
apple trees?
totally different. The nutmeg trees actually is very huge. And then when harvest time, either they have to hand pick or use like long bamboo with in the top with to catch the fruit. Yeah, it's totally different. Yeah.
Thank you, Patty. I think we are gonna go to the stove top area, and then we are gonna make the pumpkin spice blend, and then after that we are gonna come back to Patty to do the tea.
Yeah.
So if any of you who are gonna make the pumpkin spice blend with me, you will need 4 ingredients. So what you will need is, I have the cinnamon bark right here. This one is the cassia cinnamon bark. So some of you may know that the cinnamon also have different types as well. So if you have Ceylon cinnamon, that is came from Sri Lanka. For the cassia cinnamon, you can find it in Vietnam and Indonesia. I have nutmeg here, so you can. I'm using whole nutmeg, and then I'm not gonna roast it, so I'm just gonna use like a zester. So any of you, this is a zester. Any of you who would like to incorporate nutmeg into cooking, you can just use the whole nutmeg and grate it on top of mashed potatoes or even mac and cheese. And then I have cloves right here. So this is the whole clove. So you can also use that too. So what I'm doing is I have a dry pan right here, and then I have 2 nutmegs, not 2 cloves, and then just like 2 small cinnamon bar. If you have a big one, you can just use one. And then I'm just gonna roast it on low heat until it became fragrant. And then after that, I'm just gonna use a spice grinder here to grind the whole spice. This way you get the most fragrance out of the spice. And I also have half a teaspoon of the ground ginger. So for the pumpkin spice blend, technically there is no pumpkin at all, but the flavor combination make you feel like it's like a fall flavors. So I have like on medium high heat, and then I'm just gonna toast the spice until it became fragrant. While we are waiting for my spice to heat up, I have my spice box right here. So since we are waiting, so I think we don't waste time to just talk about spice. As you know, we have the nutmeg right here, the whole nutmeg, and then I use like the zester. For some of you who have not seen the mess, I know the photo that Patty showed you earlier, it looks a little bit pretty, but this is my mess. It gives you like a fragrant citrusy, and then I like to add it into rice. When I cook steamed rice, I also have that. I have this peppercorn, so it's also nice to have peppercorn spice here. This is cinnamon. I have 2 types of cinnamons right here. I can show you. This is like Ceylon cinnamon. So if you see, it's kind of like very thin and layers inside, and it becomes. I think this one is a little bit better to see. And the cassia cinnamon is a little bit thick, and it's become like a layer, just one layer. But Ceylon cinnamon is a thin layers inside, almost like a cigar. I also have 2 types of cardamom right here. One is the green cardamom that inside is like a cardamom pod. And then I also have the black cardamom that gives you like a smoky flavor. So if you want any flavors that become like a smoky, you can also use the black cardamom as well. I have coriander seeds right here, and then this is the star anise. And I think most of you know bay leaf. I have a small bay leaf, but if you live in like Southeast Asian countries, bay leaves are like huge. And then clove. So now my whole spice here start to become fragrant. I'm turning off my heat, and then I'm transfer this into my spice blend. And then after that, I'm just gonna blend it with the blender. What I'm gonna do is I will just mute myself while we blend, so you don't need to hear the blender. It's gonna take like 10 seconds. So after you blend the cinnamon and cloves, you get like the spice powder right here. You can give it a smell. It smells very nice. And then what I do is I just put them back right here. Just be careful if your pan is still hot. And then I'm adding the ground ginger. And then after I do that, what I do is I'm just gonna grate the nutmeg right here on top. So you will need about quarter of a teaspoon. If you freshly grate the nutmeg, you will get like a much better flavor. And you can also eyeball this because like we don't really measure anything. And then after you get all of this, we have only 4 spices all combined here. I'm just gonna mix them together, and then I'm just gonna transfer this into like a serving. So we have this. This is the pumpkin spice blend, and you can use this into the tea. You can use this into pie. You can use this into any of like the dessert, sweet or savory. So this is a homemade pumpkin spice blend. And then we're just gonna go back to Patty, and Patty is gonna show you how to make the Indonesian tea.
Thank you, Ploy. It's so interesting. The spice tea is actually, your spice blend is exactly like speculoos in Manado, or yeah, the speculoos normally is the same ingredients, which is interesting. So, right, to make the tea, I have these ingredients here. If you can see here, I have, of course, ginger. I know this is not kind of instant tea, but you need ginger, cinnamon, and cloves, of course. Cloves here, and nutmeg. I have nutmeg here still with the shell. And if you want to buy nutmeg from the shell, you have to, if you can like, here there's like something inside rather than not, because it's good, means it's dry, totally dry. And of course, this is the nutmeg still with the shell. So this is the, sorry, just to quickly show. So this is the shell and this is the nutmeg. So yeah, like that. Yeah. And of course, lemongrass. With lemongrass, it's important to crush it, This is still whole lemongrass, so it's really like stiff, right? When you crush it with, of course, knife, let's say, the back of the knife, it helped to release the aroma rather than to put like whole like this. So it's important actually to crush the lemongrass. And also, I mentioned on the recipe, we need secang bark or sapan wood. So this is the sapan wood. This is interesting. It's actually to just give like nice color, you know, like orangey color rather than like brown color of the tea. But of course, this is very optional because I know it's not easy to find the sapan wood. So what I'm going to do basically is just to put in the water here. I have half-liter water here, and I just put sliced ginger there, and a few cloves, around 5, and just tiny bit of cinnamon. So I just even, yeah, this is just like very small, yeah, just like that. And the lemongrass, and this is very Indonesian way. Actually, we always tie it into a knot. So because there's a lot of fiber, so it's not going everywhere. Basically, it's just like that. Yeah. And last is the nutmeg. So what I did, the nutmeg, I just crush it from one whole nutmeg. I just crush it, and I need only like half really. So just like that. And we can bring to the boil and simmer for 5 minutes. I know it's not a long time, but the thing is, of course, if you want to make very strong flavor, you need to bring to the bowl and simmer for like 10 minutes. But with 5 minutes is already nice, which is even now I can smell the aroma. I wish actually you here you can smell the aroma. I just wonder if somebody else doing the tea, cooking the tea, or Minji is doing.
Yeah, I'm doing
Minji
the tea. How do you crush the nutmeg? What do you use a?
Yeah, you have to use pestle and mortar.
I
Yeah, like this. And you
see.
just, yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, I
And you
get
just not too fine, just basically rough.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, if you don't have, also you can just use a micro grater like what Ploy did just now. Yeah. So yeah. So yeah, this is I'm not sure how do we have time, like another 3-4 minutes.
Yep, we still have time, a lot of time.
It's
So
boiling.
now today Minji got a lot of techniques to do things with nutmeg. Just crush, food processor, anything. Yes,
Yeah.
great.
Mhm.
And Patty, can you repeat what the ingredients you put in the pot again?
Okay, so I put half-liter of water.
Okay. Yeah.
5 cloves.
Okay.
And just a little bit of cinnamon.
Okay. Cinnamon. Okay.
Just short stick. Just
Right.
short stick, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then lemongrass, if you have half
Yes.
or 1, yeah. And ginger, and sliced ginger, around 15 grams.
Okay, I do that. I forgot to do that.
Yeah. So it's quite interesting because, of course, traditionally, this wedang this tea, made not with whole cloves or nutmeg, but with the leaves. So it's quite nice. And of course, this is not this tea is not the tradition in Banda Island, the home of nutmeg, but in Java. Apparently, again, centuries ago, the Sultan of Java, yeah, I think the Sultan of Java have invented this tea. Perhaps, of course, that's the story. But again, this question: is there any tea? Is there any leaves of cloves and nutmeg in Java back then? But apparently, of course, the trading system was very heavy, and they always bring the nutmeg, not only the you know, the nut, but also the fruit, and then the leaves. And later on, of course, it's also grown in Java, because right now I think the biggest nutmeg plantation it's not in Banda Island anymore. It's, I think, in Papua, in Indonesia. They started to expand, or of course in Java already, or in Manado, where I'm from. Because I remember when I was small, there's so many nutmeg field or cloves field around. So yeah, it's quite interesting to see how things change, or how spicy, or how even the tree travel. Because now, of course, Indonesia is still one of the biggest producer of cloves and nutmeg, but not number one. I think Grenada, I think number one, or even India number one nutmeg producer in the world. So it's fascinating, isn't it? Yeah. So I think my tea is kind of ready now. How's your tea, Minji?
So we have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
So is the tea for any medicinal quality or just for pleasure?
For me personally, I can say it's medicine. I'm not an expert, but for me, moving to England and then get through autumn and winter without all this drink, I think it's really hard, because I find it's really good for your body, you know, and even calming. And again, of course, ginger, without even get the confirmation from a health expert, I think we all know ginger, turmeric, lemongrass, they have their natural benefit. And then personally, I believe so, and I experienced many years, not before even moved to UK, but in the UK, I find it's so helpful, especially during winter time, just to have this tea, just to give comfort and warmth. Yeah.
I see. Yes. So I relate to that, because one winter, I think the winter before COVID, my husband and I, we got really sick. We were coughing like for 2 months. Mm-hmm. And eventually we just drank ginger tea and turmeric tea.
Yeah.
It helped.
And I think that's why if you combine again with clove and nutmeg, the thing is clove and nutmeg is too strong, the flavor. So that's why you put just a little bit, right? But of course, ginger tea, lemongrass tea is everywhere anyway. It's like even like in commercial teas, you know, you buy in the tea bags, it's everywhere. So yeah. Mm-hmm. So okay, so I think I will transfer my tea here, and I just to show you. And this is without I'm adding the sapan wood. So I know this is not hot, so I just put in here. Right. And I will put this wood here. See, I just put like 2 bark. And if you see the color, I know it's like this, but it will change the color if I put more. Yeah, just put the bark. And I think I just need more, a little bit liquid. Yeah. Can you see the color is more kind of orange?
Yes.
After adding the bark. Yeah. The function of the bark, of course, is only for the color, like natural color. So it's interesting. In Indonesia, we have in Java, of course, we serve the tea in the clay pot. You know, I know we don't have tea ceremony like in Japan or China, but it's quite. I find it's interesting. The traditional way to serve tea is using like clay pot like this. But of course, I'm just using normal like this glass just to show you the tea. Yeah. And really, for me, this is really comforting. And of course, if you want to put honey, you may. And I know in Indonesia also sometimes we use rock sugar, but also it's just lovely to enjoy as it is without any sweetness. So
this is my tea.
Oh, that's good. See, yours look nice even without the color. I know it's not long enough I put, but I think the more longer is the
I see. Yes.
More.
And how much honey you put into it?
Oh, I didn't put any actually, mine.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna taste it. Ah, it's very interesting. Very
So
interesting.
you have the lemongrass. Actually, you have layers of fragrance: lemongrass, the clove, nutmeg, cinnamon, and of course the spice from ginger. Yeah.
It worked really well with honey. Really, really well with honey.
Yeah. This is so comforting. Honestly, it's like without this, now it's still warm, I think, the weather, but winter, yeah, this is my friend for during winter.
So this winter, I'll get my 3rd COVID jab together with the tea. I hope that's gonna give me a good winter, give us a good winter. Great.
Okay.
Yay.
Thank you, Patty and Minji. Those look delicious, and now I'm jealous because I am not making along. So let me move myself here so that Patty can switch. So how's the tea, Minji?
It's actually really interesting because I thought it would be very spicy, but actually it's very delicate because it's a mix of all different. So here we go. It's slightly orangier in terms of color. And when you smell it, the aroma is a mix of everything: lemongrass, clove, nutmeg. Instead of having very strong aroma from one spice, it's a mix of quite moderate, delicate aroma together. I put a little bit of honey as well. So just let me taste. I can totally understand why Patty said it's a comfort drink for the winter. I can totally see that happening. So we are going to have a lot of drinks, a lot of this drink this winter. It comes
Thank
very
you.
timely.
Yes, that looks delicious and healthy as well. So now we have Patty back with us, and so there were some questions about the bark. I already add the recipe into that. So someone asked about sichang bark. Also, why we call bark instead of the root?
Because this bark is come from a tree, not from the roots, but from the bark. So, but they just cut it thinly. Yeah, so it's not really the roots. It's really like from the tree trunk, and then they just cut it thinly. Yeah.
Thank you, Patty. So I don't think we have any questions left.
Oh, what is Patty's website?
I already put them in
okay.
In the chat earlier, but I can also add it one more. So before we do that, I'm still like in the process of typing in the.
Yeah, so meanwhile, there's a question from Lily and Andrea in Singapore. Why is the nutmeg and clove production so local? Can they not grow in other islands of the region?
Sorry, I missed the question. What is it? Sorry.
Why is the nutmeg and clove production so local? Can they grow in other islands?
Yeah, surely they can grow in other islands. And they are doing it now. That's why they're expanding to Papua. I think Papua will be like the biggest nutmeg producer in the future. But the thing is also not many farmers want to grow nutmeg because the value is so low. There's no value. It's so cheap, right? There's another issue with nutmeg and clove because, yeah, the value is very, very cheap, you know. So I think in Indonesia, the farmers trying to see other crop that really give them benefit. And of course, coffee is like the biggest things in Indonesia, because Indonesia not only, of course, home of nutmeg and cloves, but Indonesia also the biggest coffee producer and also chocolate. So yeah. So today, I know sometimes if you buy coffee, surely you can find a lot of coffee in the market from Indonesia. Mm-hmm.
Also, we got another question. Can we drink the tea hot or cold?
Yeah, you can drink both. And the thing is, sometimes maybe you find the flavor is too strong. You can just add more water, hot water or cold water. And of course, summertime, I also like to drink this and just put in your refrigerator. Basically, this is basically just water with spices, right? So it's like flavor water. Of course, it's like we have lemon water. So you can have this, make this and put in the refrigerator. Yeah.
Thank you, Patty. So for some like side note, when we call spices, it has to be able to like transport it. Like when if it's fresh, we usually call them like herb or herbs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But when it's dry, and then we can like export and import those ingredients, we call them spice. So if we have like fresh ginger, that we consider like herbs. But if we do like ground ginger, that's considered like spice. So just like a side note for anyone who has questions. Oh, your book. Let's talk about your book.
Oh, my book, my Jakarta Bites book.
Yeah. So we have which of her books are printed in English? I think all of your books have been printed in English.
Yeah, my book actually, I have two books. One, Papaya Flower, which is about the food where I was born in Manado, and the second one is Jakarta Bites, is about food that available in Jakarta, but of course, all food from Indonesia available in the capital, because a lot of people from the region move to Jakarta for, start their business. And I think for anybody who want to explore Indonesian cuisine, the best place is in Jakarta, because you don't need to hopping islands. You can find most of regional cuisine in Jakarta. And the book is published in Indonesia, and actually, sadly, it's not widely available because the distribution system not great. But I have very good news. In the middle of writing a book, Indonesian book, and will be available worldwide, but will be available in 2023, spring 2023. Especially in America, definitely it will be available in America, because the publisher have office in London and America. Yeah.
That's awesome. We are looking forward to seeing your book coming up.
Thank you, Ploy.
Yes. Thank you, Patty, very much. We have learned so much about the Indonesian spices, and also we get delicious Indonesian tea. I'm just gonna ask Minji to introduce our talk next week.
Great. Thank you so much. And it's my turn I'd like to spotlight Anne. For those who are old audience of Explore Culture, we are very familiar with Anne, and textile experts residing in London, UK. And now we are just grabbing her again to do another fascinating talk. And would you like to tell us a little bit more about what's coming next week?
Yeah, hi everybody. Yes, what I thought I'd do is look at some of my favorite textiles from the V&A. I've been going to the V&A Museum for more years than some of you have been since you've been born. And I could talk for about 20 hours about my favorites because I've got so many, but don't worry, I've put it right back to just a few. So I'll be talking about textiles from different periods, mainly European, but not 100% European. And really not just about the textiles, but about the human stories behind them.
Yes. So what I always love about Anne's approach is Anne is so good at seeing the world through a grain of sand, through one piece of textile, one piece of material art. We are going to see the society, history, and culture behind it. So stay tuned with us. We will send out an email today about what's coming next week. Anne's favorite objects, textile objects from V&A Museum in London. Meanwhile, we would like to give another huge thank you to Patty and Chloe, who gave us such a fascinating and informative food talk, drink talk today. I hope that's going to bring you a lot of delight for the winter. And we want to see more of Patty's books and talks and food ingredients to come about Indonesian culture and food. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Great. Goodbye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.